So yesterday I made a video about Coach Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime, leaving Jackson State to become the new head coach at the University of Colorado. And it kind of got me thinking, what's the ceiling for the University of Colorado? I know Coach Prime, he talks big, he's loud, he's important, he's got a lot of swag on him, but he usually backs it up. And he talks about, being at the level of everybody else, meaning the Nick Sabans and the Kirby Smarts of the world. So that got me wondering, can he actually do that at Colorado? Could Coach Prime turn Colorado into the Alabama of the Pac-12? Now, the quick answer to that is no, absolutely not. It's Colorado, right? But, and I will say this, and it's a strong but, the more I kind of looked at Colorado and the more I looked at college football's landscape as a whole, I realized this might be one of the most interesting storylines in college football going over the next couple of years. To start, let's look at just college football as a whole. Let's take it real broad. Right now, you have a time in college football that is almost like the Wild Wild West. Players in the transfer portal are moving at a quicker rate than any time before. Right now, I think there's legitimately, I think 500 players entered the portal yesterday, and that was just yesterday, which is, if you don't know, I'm filming this today, Monday, December 5th, which is the first official day that the transfer portal can open here. And it's been nuts. You have Justin Flo just entered the portal. You have Tony Grimes, a former 5-star cornerback that now plays for, or used to play for, the University of North Carolina, just entered. Several 5-stars from Texas A&M have entered as well. And they're free. Anybody can come and get them. And I put the phrase free with an asterisk because, of course, any of these top-level players are going to require, I would say, some type of NIL money, something to kind of make them come along, which is the way of college football, but still, nonetheless, you can change your entire team's roster in an off-season now. I mean, there's no one-year sit-out rule for when you transfer. So, for example, someone like Deion Sanders, who's worked before on the All-American game, who has a big name and a lot of clout, he can easily pull in here a transfer portal class, just like he did at Jackson State, where he brought in several former 4-stars and 5-stars through the portal and turned that team around in no time. As you know, they went undefeated this past season, so it's incredibly doable. There's two other things here that are important to look at. One is just college football's expansion. The playoff, it's expanded to 12 teams. That'll be in 2024, which I think Coach Prime will still be there. Unless he truly just annihilates it this upcoming season, which could be a possibility, and gets them to like 10 or 11 wins, I think he'll still be there in 2024 when it's time for the playoff. And that 12 spot, I've looked, there are teams there with no disrespect to the Tulanes of the world that would probably get in now that wouldn't get in then, but Colorado is certainly on that level. They could definitely see them sneaking into the playoff in like an 11th or 12th seed. And you're probably saying, well, they're in the Pac-12, a much different conference than Tulane. Well, the thing is, the Pac-12 is changing now. To be honest, I don't even know if there's going to be a Pac-12 in a few years. But as for now, the Pac-12 is basically a one-team conference. I'd argue maybe two. Oregon is still fairly decent. But it's USC right now. Caleb Williams will be back next year. Obviously, he's going to stand in their way, but USC and UCLA are leaving. They're going to the Big Ten. There's going to be two big super conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten. Naturally, who I think will follow will be Stanford and Oregon as well, who I just mentioned. I can also see leaving, which is less competition. And technically, if Coach Prime is still there at that time, whatever conference they end up in, it's not really going to have a bunch of big dogs in it. All the big dogs, the blue bloods, they're either going to be in the SEC or they're going to be in the Big Ten, which leaves a large chasm, I think, for a third kind of mid-tier conference to kind of come up here. And Colorado, I think, is in a perfect place to dominate something like that. Next will be recruiting. Right now, Colorado, and I'm using 247 Sports rankings, over the past 3 to 4 seasons, they've generally finished around 45 to 60 in the team composite rankings, which is average to be kind. I would say you're a okay to mediocre team if you're in those ratings. Usually, granted, ratings do not mean everything, and obviously players can outplay their ratings or underperform their ratings. Look at Texas A&M, tons of 5-stars, and an up and down season, not much going on there. However, with Coach Prime, he's far more likely to get these super talented guys. I mean, hell, he got Travis Hunter to come to Jackson State. Think about that. He got the #1 recruit in the nation to not go to the SEC, not go to the ACC, not go to the Big Ten. He convinced him to come to the SWAC conference in the middle of Mississippi with not as many resources and everything else. And you know what? It worked. Travis Hunter was still a national name throughout the season despite being in the SWAC. I honestly think here Coach Prime is really going to succeed. I don't know if national championship is going to be there just because I know I've said so many positive things. I know I've mentioned, hey, they can get into the playoff now. I do see a viable path for him getting in. It's just, he is Deion Sanders. However, he isn't going to completely reinvent the wheel. Alabama will still be Alabama. Ohio State will still be Ohio State. And I do think that Colorado's recruiting is going to skyrocket. I mean, hell, within the first couple hours of Deion Sanders being on campus, Colorado got a commitment from a 5-star wide receiver all the way in the 2025 class. We'll see if that commitment sticks. That's so far out. But still, they're going to get talent. My question first, how are they going to play against teams that are equally, if not more talented than them? That's going to happen next year. I mean, Colorado's going to go and they're going to play some big boy competition now. And Deion Sanders has never really coached at that level. He's never done that before. Granted, tons of people have not done that before and succeeded, and I don't want to dwell on that because I do think he's a good coach. I don't want to be unfair. You go 12-0 for a reason. Like the great quote says, you are what your record says you are, and they were undefeated, and they were the SWAC champions. So they're good. But I'm still intrigued, man. Like, you're bringing a lot of talent up here. You're in a different game now. You're in a major school. I also am interested to see the fit. I mean, you're going from HBCU SWAC, something familiar, to Colorado. And not trying to downplay Colorado or anything like that, but I'm interested to see how that Deion Sanders flair works in Boulder. And lastly, my biggest thing is, and I think I've kind of hinted at this throughout, is how long does he stay? Because I do think he's going to be successful there. And not to be mean to Colorado, it's just, that isn't a top 10 to 15 college job, you know? Especially for someone like a Deion Sanders, who is a national name and a superstar that wants more. I could easily, and I do mean easily, see when the next blue blood job comes open, which it always does. There's a job every single year that comes open. It was Auburn this year, was one. Last year, LSU, Notre Dame came open, Oklahoma, USC. Someone's always losing their job. What happens? Is he going to go? Especially if it's a job that's in Florida, for example. If Florida State ever gets rid of Norvell, even though he looks like he kind of turned it around this season, Deion Sanders needs to be the first call. That is a slam dunk hire with that school and with that NIL. He could compete with just about anybody, in my honest opinion, even Bama, with the talent down there. But in Colorado, I don't know. In the back of my head, I think Deion Sanders knows that as well. He's not a dumb man. I think he's moving up this ladder. I can see him being there for maybe 2 to 3 seasons at most, but I think he's gone. And with that, Colorado football, I do think you guys are going to have a fantastic time now with Coach Prime. I think you're going to get a lot of talent here in the coming years. I just don't think it's going to last very long because I think Coach Sanders is gone, you know? If he ain't staying in Jackson State after everything he said about, you know, the people and the movement and the reason that he was there, he damn sure ain't staying in Boulder, Colorado. He's going to go for greener pastures here. Colorado, enjoy your time. But those are just my 2 cents. I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comments about Coach Prime, Colorado football, and the way they go. This will not be the only video I make. I'm intrigued about this. I really am. I think there's an opportunity, especially here going to the offseason, seeing what they do, for Colorado football to really go and make some noise next year in that Pac-12, which I think is far more open than people realize. Like, every single team there has some type of weakness. If he has a banging transfer portal like I think he can, crazy things can happen. But nonetheless, I'm Bliss Pizza. I've enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with some more content later on today. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have the time. Peace.